tomorrow in the afternoon, where His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, will be taking over chairmanship of the regional bloc. I'm also with Bengani right here in the building as we want to discuss more about the arrivals. Bengani, we have seen more presidents coming through, and now we are seeing the arrival of another head of state coming through.
Yebo bambe njengokutsho kwakho namhlanje kuqhutshwa umhlangano lapho khangelwa khona uqhutshwa umhlangano wabomphathintambo ozakhangela njalo emhlanganweni we-Southern African Development Community ongenwa ngamazwe afika wona alithumi lasithupha iyen. Phambilini kuke kwafika abanye omongameli, sike sabona ukufika kamongameli wakwele Angola onguye umgcinisihlalo wenhlanganiso ye-SADC okhangelele ukuthi uzadedela umongameli welizwe Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa.
You remember that earlier on we also had a live coverage in Mount Upton where we see the opening ceremony of the Ministerial Committee of the organ, which of course was chaired by the Zambian Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, that is Honorable Mulambo Haimbe, who is chairperson of that one, which was of course attended by the members of the media, the opening ceremony, and then there was followed up by a closed door session, and then we witnessed later on the closing ceremony of that particular meeting. And of course, this is a precursor meeting to the SADC Troika that will be happening later on this afternoon in Mount Upton, that is in the capital city in Harare, and we are also expecting more and more heads of state to be coming through, as your pictures can tell, the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. And now let's go to Butler Nepure, who is RGA Mugabe Airport, and let's get further more. Butler, good afternoon, and it's over to you.
Welcome back. We are still at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. Our continued coverage of the SADC Summit, the 44th SADC Summit that is being held here in Zimbabwe. Well, here at Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, we're particularly covering the coming of heads of state who are going to be part and parcel of the 44th SADC Summit. And so we are very excited to be here and to bringing you everything that is currently taking place. We have received 5 presidents so far. We've received, starting yesterday or starting last night, we received leaders from Lesotho, leaders from Malawi, Tanzania, and also the outgoing SADC chair, President Lourenço of Angola, also having come through just moments ago. Now we are witnessing the coming on board of the Democratic Republic of Congo President, the rightful President Felix Tshisekedi. He will be disembarking from the plane. I saw that part of the delegation that is going to be welcoming him here includes the Minister of Tourism, that is Barbara Rodzi, as well as I also saw Minister Felix Mona. But the Democratic Republic of Congo, obviously a very key player within the Southern African Development Community. It is touted, of course, as one, or potentially one of the richest countries here in Africa. The DRC having been admitted into the Southern African Development Community, SADC, that was in 1998, and this was after, rather when the 17th summit agreed that it was satisfied with the criteria for the admission of new members. This having been formalized when the instruments of accession were signed by the government on the 8th of September. So a very key player that is the Democratic Republic of Congo within the SADC regional bloc. More than half of the country of DRC is covered in dense tropical forest. The country traverses by numerous rivers, and of course we've always talked about the bigger effect of the Congo River. The country itself measures a staggering 2,345,095 square kilometers. That is how huge the DRC is. And they did, of course, attain their independence on the 30th of June in 1960. Know that President Emmerson Mnangagwa did attend the inauguration of President Tshisekedi, and rightfully so, we'll see him today coming for the 44th SADC Summit. And speaking of the inauguration of President Tshisekedi, President Emmerson Mnangagwa open court said that the founding fathers of our African unity declared that we must be united, stand solid as African countries, and we should cut our relations with the former metropolitan colonizers and become completely independent from our colonial masters, having been one of the messages that was enunciated during the inauguration of President Tshisekedi. He also went on to say this is why most African heads of state come together in solidarity in ceremonies of this nature. And like today, he said, the investiture of His Excellency President Tshisekedi, the majority of African leaders have come to give solidarity to a brother who has been re-elected. And of course, SADC has always come to the fore when it comes to assisting the Democratic Republic of Congo in terms of insurgencies that have been reported in some parts of DRC. In instance, President Tshisekedi is expected to be part of the leaders who are here in Zimbabwe for the 44th SADC Summit. The SADC Summit itself proper takes place tomorrow at the Parliament Building. That's the new Parliament Building out there in Mount Hampden. As you might have seen, that we've been bringing you our news bulletins. The opening bit from that is from the Parliament Building, where we will be tomorrow giving you proceedings of what will be taking place. So we'll take you through to live images now from the plane as he is welcomed by the delegations. President Tshisekedi from the Democratic Republic of Congo making his way as part of the delegates that are, or the heads of state in fact, that are going to be attending the 44th SADC summit and going through the formalities, which of course are always rounded off by the exciting traditional dancers who have come out in full numbers to be part of the receiving delegates of all the SADC heads of state that are coming. Also important to note that the Southern African Development Community, that is SADC, has always, like I indicated earlier on, come to the fore when it comes to development community mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, having been deployed at some point, that is on the 15th of December in 2023, to support the government of DRC to restore peace and security in the eastern DRC. And we will obviously anticipate that this obviously will be one of the talking points during the course of this 44th SADC summit. But we are still here at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, giving you live updates and live images of the heads of state that are arriving ahead of the 44th SADC summit that takes place tomorrow. My name is Butler Nepure. Let's now take you back to the studio where Ian and Wengani are on standby with our continued coverage of SADC 44th summit.
The colorful Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport receiving heads of state are coming through to ensure that they do get to attend tomorrow's SADC Summit, 44th, that will be happening in Mount Upton Parliament right here in Harare. And of course, we have witnessed the arrival of so many presidents from today as well as yesterday. We've seen the Prime Minister of Lesotho, that is Olo Ambumba, also coming through, as well as Malawi's head of state, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. Angola, we have seen him arriving this afternoon, His Excellency João Lourenço, as well as now that we have seen His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Vengani, coming through. That warm welcome to the Harare International, Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. The traditional dances really speaking about the culture and say welcome to Zimbabwe.
Yebo Ian, njengokusho kwakho ukuthi iZimbabwe ilizwe elithakazelela abantu abethekelelayo. Sibonile ukujabula ukufika kukamongameli wakule DRC uComrade Tshisekedi. Sikhangela ukuthi uComrade Tshisekedi ungowesikhombisa wabomongameli labo lenhloko zikaNangolo Mbumba kanye lo mongameli wakule Tanzania umama uDr. Samia Suluhu onguye ozanikwa isikhundla sokuba njalo umgcinisihlalo we-Troika emhlanganweni. Ngaphambilini Ian uke wakhuluma ukuthi kulomhlangano owenziweyo ekseni ngaphambilini umhlangano lo ubugoqela leSADC laphatha umsebenzi omkhulu kakhulu kunhloko yeSADC kukhangelwa ukuthi baphathisa ekulwisaneni laba kulomkhono kuhlanganiswe weSADC.
Right, and of course, like you rightfully said, that of course we have seen the heads of state coming through, and like Butler has been explaining that talking of DRC, it was previously known as the Republic of Zaire and was then admitted into the SADC bloc back in 1998. It is one of the largest countries and as far as this southern region is concerned, and His Excellency has just arrived. And like Butler has been making reference to, when he came into office, His Excellency was also in attendance, and he spoke about the significance of unity, the relationship between Zimbabwe and DRC, and how Zimbabwe as well as other SADC countries have also contributed towards the development of and peace maintenance in block Vengani.
Ian, njengokhuluma kwakho ukuthi lumhlangano uzaqhutshwa umhlangano wamachumi amane lane 44. Lumhlangano uzangenwa ukhangela ukungenwa ngamazwe afika wona ichumi lasithupha agoqela phakathi Angola, iBotswana, Comoros. iComoros ingenye yamazwe angenela ngemuva njalo kuba ngamalunga eSADC. Sikhangele Democratic Republic of Congo elomongameli uComrade Felix Tshisekedi osefikile. Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Seychelles, South Africa, le United Republic of Tanzania, Zambia kanye le Zimbabwe. Nxa sikhangela Ian iSADC yona ilomsebenzi wayo, sikhangela njalo lendikimba yayo ukuthi kusetshenziswa ubungcwethi ikakhulu ekuthuthukiseni ezama industry lamankampani. Njalo sikhangelele ukuthi zinengi izinto ezakhulunywa ngazo Ian kulomhlangano. Kuzakhangelwa njalo indaba eziphathelane lokudla, kuzakhulunywa njalo lesomiso esalethwa yi-El Nino, ukubona ukuthi ukuba lokuhlaliseka kanye lokusebenzela lokuthula kulomkhono uhlanganiswe SADC.
We've also seen the Minister of Tourism and hospitality industry, Honorable Barbara Rhodes, welcoming His Excellency Tshisekedi to Zimbabwe. And talking of industry and how important it is for us to have more of our tourism industry also developing, it's key that we get to see Honorable Barbara Rhodes welcoming His Excellency. And these ministers are taking turns to come through and welcome our guests who are visiting Zimbabwe, coming through for the 44th SADC summit happening right here in Zimbabwe. And of course, there is so much lined up. Talking of the president that have already arrived right here in the capital city. Currently, we do have the Honorable Prime Minister from Lesotho, and also His Excellency from Tanzania has arrived. That is His Excellency Dr. Samia Hassan. From Namibia, they have also arrived. His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba. Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. And Angola, His Excellency João Lourenço, as well as the recently who just arrived now, His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And talking of tomorrow becomes the climax of all the precursor meetings we've been seeing, or the preparations of a historic day in Zimbabwe and in the region of SADC, where we see His Excellency taking over chairmanship. And then on Sunday as well, Vangani, business will continue. There will be a visit to the Museum of African Liberation. Get a chance to visit the Museum of African Liberation right to next to the National Heroes Acre. Of course, quite significant that these
Xhuma sikhona njalo kuma social media pages ethu ebulenjini bethu ku Facebook, ku Twitter, X, kumbe ku YouTube channel ku ZBC News Online. Sikhangela iye njalo ukuthi lumhlangano ungakaqhutshwa ukuke wakhangelwa njalo ezinye amanyathelo athi athathwa. Sikhangela mhla ka-28 kaNtulikazi lapho ukuqhutshwe khona umhlangano we-Industrialization Week okuhambelana lendikimba ye-SADC, lapho kukhulunywa khona ngokuthuthukisa ezama-industry kulumkhono kusetshenziswa indlela zakulezi nsuku. Kuke waqhutshwa njalo umhlangano wabomphathintambo. Kukhanya njalo ukuthi Ambassador Frederick Shaba usenikezwe isicoco sokuba mgcini sihlalo wali committee ian. Sikhangelele njalo ukuthi umongameli welizwe uzanikwa ithuba kusasa elokuthi abe ngumgcini sihlalo wenhlanganiso ye-SADC. Sikhangela njalo ukuthi kulezi zinto ezakwenziwa njalo ukwethekelela lapho ugcinwa khona imbali yelizwe okuzaveza mceke lokho esikumeleyo thina njengezizalwane ze-Africa ian.
So much has been happening in Zimbabwe in the month of August. Remember when this started, there was that Industrialization Week, Investment Week that also took place alongside the Industrialization Week that was happening in Harare. And later on, there was the public lecture that took place at the University of Zimbabwe, where His Excellency gave his lecture yesterday, speaking to various members that attended that public lecture. And he spoke about the significance of transforming our educational sector into an industrialized line of thinking. And he made reference to what Zimbabwe has done actually towards an industrialized SADC Education 5.0, the heritage best, which is now seeing the construction of innovation hubs, projects being done right here in Zimbabwe. And like we said, we will make sure that everything happening, we will continue to cover. And now we are going back to the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport to Butler to get more. Butler, it's over to you.
Welcome back indeed, our live coverage of the arrival of heads of state and government ahead of the 44th SADC summit. Just moments ago, remember when you did crossover that we were welcoming President Felix Tshisekedi from the Democratic Republic of Congo. He became the 6th head of state who has since come through for this particular summit. Of course, there is a great build-up that has happened prior to the hosting of the 44th SADC summit here in Zimbabwe. Right now, as we speak, we are waiting for the arrival of Eswatini's King, or His Majesty King Mswati III, and the delegates are already on standby to receive him. Of course, Eswatini being a key and integral member of the Southern African Development Community that is SADC, having attained their independence on the 6th of September in 1968. But of course, Eswatini also known for their vast and that's their vast sugar production and their vast lands of sugar that are there. There is a lot of excitement, of course, as the heads of state are being received here at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. It's been a hive of activity since morning as we have been bringing you a live coverage of what has been taking place. Of course, Kingdom of Eswatini being a founding member of SADC, underscoring the importance of why the kingdom is going to be represented today, having been part of the formative years of SADC when it was still the Southern African Development Coordination Conference, that is SADC with a double C, in Lusaka, Zambia. That was in April of 1980. So Eswatini remains the only absolute monarch in Southern Africa, a small landlocked country located in Southern Africa, bordered by the Republic of Mozambique to the east and the rest of the Republic of South Africa. So we'll still await the plane to make its way to where, of course, the King Mswati is expected to descend and be received by his Zimbabwe's representative in Mozambique. You will be part of the team that will receive, of course, King Mswati III. So the cultural heritage of Eswatini is unmatched. It's something that we have all grown to know so many times, and it is deeply rooted within the kingdom itself, with traditions that have been carefully protected over time and sustained in colorful ceremonies that regularly take place to mark special occasions out there in Eswatini. So Eswatini, a very key and integral member of the Southern African development community. Remember that there have been other events that have taken place as we look ahead to tomorrow, where the SADC summit itself, the SADC summit proper, is going to take place. One being the Industrialization week, which took place at the Harare International Conference, where a number of companies were exhibiting, and key among them being sugar production, which is what Eswatini is known for. I'm sure you can hear the drum beating of the traditional dancers to give the welcome delegation a rousing welcome, and what has now become a tradition here during our course of receiving the heads of state ahead of the summit tomorrow. We already know as well that some of the presidents that did come through, or some of the heads of state that did come through, have paid courtesy calls on President Emerson Mnangagwa at State House, and we expect that there will be a state banquet that will be hosted for the heads of state.
Beautiful scenes at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. As you can see, that dance group, which has been a common feature at these arrivals of the heads of state coming through for the SADC summit, as we await for the arrival of King Mswati III of Eswatini. And really talking about the arrival, and we've seen the beautiful moments, the beautiful scenes. The heads of state, when they come through, they also get a chance to really walk through that red carpet, a warm welcome to Zimbabwe, inspecting that guard of honor like it is always. And we've seen various ministers, various senior government officials coming through to receive the coming heads of state. And we've seen now we do have another one waiting to really have the arrival of the head of state from Eswatini. And now talking a bit about Eswatini, the capital city of the country is Lobamba, which is the royal and the legislative capital city. And Lobamba is the administrative city, and official languages that are spoken in Eswatini are English and Eswatini on its own. It's actually the name of the country and also name of the official language that is spoken in Eswatini. And currently, as we are waiting for the arrival, you can see on your pictures right there, the plane is slowly moving to the final position, where we get to see the king descending and then being welcomed by the senior government officials coming through there. Quite some beautiful scenes as we see these heads of state coming through to Zimbabwe.
Yebo, nxa sikhangela sibona ubuhle belizwe leZimbabwe, sibona njalo ukwemukelwa kwezethekeleli ezinhle. Sike sakhabona ngaphambilini umongameli wakwele DRC uComrade Felix Tshisekedi la engena bemthakazelela njalo ehlola ibutho lakuleli. Okwathi sisamelele umongameli wakwele Eswatini, inkosi yaseSwatini ekhandothelayo ezafika elizweni leZimbabwe. Ngaphambilini
now we might have to stop because again Butler Nepure is on standby, and let's get to Butler to follow our proceedings coming through from the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport.
Indeed, as we can see that the plane has landed, and we're expecting King Mswati III, that's His Majesty King Mswati III, to descend from the plane and be received by the Zimbabwe delegation that we see has Ambassador Matema Danda, who is Zimbabwe's representative to Mozambique. I also saw the Minister Felix Mona, who's also part of the receiving delegation there. The capital city of Eswatini being Mbabane, but they do have two capital cities, the legislative one being the Royal Lobamba. That's Royal Lobamba. That is the royal capital, and then Mbabane being the administrative capital for Eswatini. Of course, the head of state is His Majesty King Mswati III, and the head of government is Prime Minister Cleopas Sipho Dlamini. Eswatini having attained independence on the 6th of September in 1968. Two main languages being spoken there, and that is Siswati and English. But they're also very famed for their natural resources, which is sugar, food products, wood pulp, and wildlife. Tourism is also quite huge and has been expanding over the last number of years, given, of course, the cultural preservation that Eswatini in 1980 in Zambia, when it was still the Southern African Development Coordination Conference, that is SADC with a double C. And they are a landlocked country located in Southern Africa, bordering the Republic of Mozambique to the east, and the rest by the Republic of South Africa. We are, of course, also expecting some of the regional leaders who are still to make it to come through today and probably early on tomorrow morning before the summit takes center stage at the Parliament building that is in Mount Hampden. So we'll wait for King Mswati to descend from the plane and be welcomed by the Zimbabwe welcoming delegation, and of course other officials coming from the Eswatini Republic and Eswatini Embassy. But this is what has been happening over the last number of hours, and we're expecting it to continue to happen throughout the night today as we welcome the delegates that are coming through to the SADC 44th summit that is being hosted here in Zimbabwe. the formalities, of course, will always define the first bit or the first round of what happens when a head of state does make their way from the plane. I'm sure, as you have now noted, that the formalities are the head of state descends from the plane. They are then welcomed by the visiting delegation. They do greet the delegation that is welcoming them before they walk through the red carpet on a mounted guard of honor by the Zimbabwe National Army. They will then come through and receive some welcoming flowers from the young ladies who are clad in the national dress, which I must say has also become very prominent during the course of the welcoming party or the welcoming parties here at Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. We have seen the traditional dancers, not just colorful, but also clad in their traditional, the Zimbabwe fabric, which has become a hit around the country. So in just a moment, we will see King Mswati III descending from the... Of course, we've seen that there has been a lot of activity taking place in various parts of the country ahead of the 44th SADC summit. This is just one of the many things that are happening at the moment. There is the receiving of the delegates that are coming, meaning the heads of state. There are also those that are paying courtesy calls on President Emerson Mnangagwa at State House, and of course those that are attending the SADC Troika that is also taking place today. So many events taking place around the country as Zimbabwe hosts the SADC 44th summit. Remember, the 43rd summit was hosted by Angola in Luanda, and we've already received the president of Angola, who has or who will pass on the baton to President Emerson Mnangagwa for the chairpersonship of SADC. President Emerson Mnangagwa taking over the chairpersonship of SADC as Zimbabwe hosts the 44th edition. So we await as we see part of the delegation, of course, to welcome King Mswati III, His Majesty, to Zimbabwe for the SADC summit. It has been an interesting bit indeed of what has happened over the last number of days. The regional integration, the talks that have taken place, that are expected to take place, but most importantly, the setting of the industrialization agenda, which has remained very key and consistent ever since it was launched in 2014 when Zimbabwe hosted the last SADC summit. Just for those of you that are joining us right now and wondering what is going on, we are at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, where, of course, heads of state are being received ahead of the SADC summit that is taking place here in Zimbabwe. We have seen already Malawi. We also had from Lesotho and the outgoing SADC chair from that is Angola, President Lourenço, also coming through today. And today we still await to see the coming on board of King Mswati III.
Yes, there you see the king arriving at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, being received. There you can see the Minister of Infrastructure Development, that is Honorable Felix Mona, receiving another delegate, King Mswati III, coming through, and of course Ambassador Matema Danda among the delegates who are also receiving King Mswati coming through to attend the SADC summit. More and more heads of state are arriving at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, and talking of the king, and quite a beautiful delegation, as you can see, some African color that you can see under the flare. And let's see if we can get more back to Butler to get live commentary of the proceedings.
Yep, and so that is the arrival of King Mswati III, His Majesty, for the SADC 44th Summit. Is in his traditional garbs, the greater part of his delegation in their traditional garb as well. And just to let you know, Ian and Wengani out there in the studio, that there's something also very interesting. When King Mswati comes, he always comes with a person who announces his every move. So there is always someone announcing his every move, and they're screaming at the top of their voices. It's very interesting, I guess, giving credence to him as being the majesty, of being His Majesty the King. I know it's part of live television. It always happens all the time. But all the same, that is what we are bringing to you here at Robert Gabriel Mugabe Internet that have come through. And we're still here until night falls to give you the latest as more come. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Butler, for that. Wow, really interesting that we get to see Butler, like he explained, that there is someone who will be explaining every move that King Mswati is about to take. And the delegation, like he said, we've seen in that African cloth, and it really speaks about the values of the country. And His Majesty King Mswati III has also come through. He is now in Zimbabwe, ready to attend the 44th SADC Summit.
Yebo, sapolo Zimbabwe, kulabo abasanda kusixhuma sisemukela abameli lenhloko labomongameli bamazwe bezongena umhlangano wamachumi amane lane we-SADC. Sike sabona njalo ngaphambilini Ian umongameli wakwele DRC efika la abantu bemzini. Sibonile njalo inkosi yesithathu yaseSwatini efika la njalo njengokukhuluma uka Butler ekhuluma isithi inkosi yaseSwatini ilo muntu omemezelayo konke okwenzakalayo okuyinto enhle njalo. Sibona njalo ngendlela agqoke njalo kuveza njalo uqhakathekiswa kwamasiko, ikakhulu ubuhle bamasiko okwele Africa okuhambelana lalokho uzakwenziwa lapho abazekuthela khona i-African Museum Liberation, lapho abazabona ubuhle besintu sethu. Sikhangelile njalo ngaphambilini Ian, sike sezwa ukuthi kuko kwaqhutshwa umhlangano wembaxa ezibona ngezomvikela. Njalo sibonile ukuthi akade bekhuluma kumbe akade beqondisa lo mhlangano baguqela phakathi umkhokheli njalo engumqondisi wenhlanganiso SADC umnumzana Elias Mkhosi ekhuluma njalo emelwa ngomunye owezambia umnumzana Ipaimbe Mlambo bekhuluma njalo lokho okuzakwenziwa emhlangano ozakwenziwa namhlanje wemini owe-Troika ukhangelwa ngezomvikela ukuqhakatheka kwakho ngesikhathi Zambia izaqhubela khona isitulo lesi kumbe izaqhubekela khona lumsebenzi inika ilizwe le-Tanzania. Ian.
Really, like you said, that there was that meeting earlier on in Mount Upton, and very soon we'll be crossing over to Mount Upton also for the SADC Troika that will be happening live, and our crew is also on standby as we continue to give you everything happening from everywhere where the SADC summit is, of course, getting ready and ready. Swatini really carries out the African culture, how proud are they of their culture, and also exhibiting. You can see some of them were walking with barefoot, showing case what their culture is all about. And afternoon, like you said, that this afternoon there will be the Troika happening at Mount Upton. And earlier on, the conversations of the OMC, that is the ministerial organ of the committee, really had discussions on shaping points, talking points of what would then take place this afternoon at that particular Troika. And they also had a closed door session, which of course we are now used to. There are these meetings when the media only attend the opening ceremony, but then there will be the closed door sessions. As you can see, your pictures are Mount Upton, your live pictures there. The venue is ready, where normally we usually have the Senate session coming through from the upper house, but it's a different shortly, and preparations are ongoing. People are getting ready. The media, we are also ready as the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, and I'm sure that the delegates will be shortly walking in to have that Troika happening, and we'll be giving them live proceedings right here on ZBC.
Yebo Ian, sike sabona njalo ezinye inhloko ezikahulumende lamazwe zike zethekelela umongameli welizwe. Sibonile njalo ukuthi umongameli wakwele Namibia umnumzana Nongolo Mbumba wethekele umongameli welizwe, njalo inhloko yeLesotho umnumzana Sam Matekane laye wethekelele umongameli welizwe uComrade Emerson Mnangagwa. Njalo sibona njalo lo Dr. Chakwera umongameli wakwele Malawi laye uke wafika njalo Ian esethekelela umongameli welizwe Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa ngaphambilini komhlangano we-SADC owamachumi amane lane okhangelwe ukuthi uzaqhutshwa kusasa usiyafika mhla ka-18. Sikhangela njalo ilizwe leSwatini kulento eke yakhulunywa into eke yangithinta Ian khangela njalo ukuthi mhla ka-28 Ntulikazi waqhutshwa iviki yokhangeleza ama-industry okuhambelana lendikimba yalomhlangano ekhangela ukuthuthukisa ubungcwethi kwezama-industry kanye leze science. Sikhangela ukuthi ilizwe leSwatini ilizwe elilinywa khona imfe kanye lechukela okuyinto ekhangelelwe ukuthi kuzaphathisa ekakhulu ekuthuthukiseni inotho yamazwekazi akunhlanganiso ye-SADC. Sikhangela njalo ngokulondolozwa njalo kwamasiko. Sikhangela njengokutsho kwakho ubonile umongameli induna inkosi ngaseSwatini ibiqokile njalo abanye behamba ngenyawo okuveza ukuqhakathekiswa kobuntu bethu njengezalwane ze-Afrika.
And latest we have seen the president of Malawi, Dr. Chakwera, who also attended just a courtesy call just to visit His Excellency at the State House just to talk about issues. And he also explained that the region will then rally behind Zimbabwe's leadership of the SADC region, and also ensuring that the unifying and also the industrialization agenda becomes a reality through the able leadership of His Excellency. And of course, there are so many issues around SADC. We have heard him speaking during the public lecture. What needs to be done in SADC? Transform education so that what is being done in Mozambique will speak to what is being done in Malawi to Zimbabwe, so that the region will move in the same direction. And Zimbabwe has already embarked on that journey by introducing Education 5.0, which really has innovation at the center of everything. And in Zimbabwe, we've seen the construction of the innovation hubs at all the tertiary institutions. And this is what His Excellency was saying. The region should also then move towards that, explaining that if we are to adopt similar policies, if we are to have a similar mindset, and of course unified, the region will become bigger and better together. And Bengani, you were talking earlier on about the significance of remaining original that we have seen from the kingdom of Eswatini. His Excellency also spoke yesterday about the significance of Africans remaining African in all that we do, in producing African solutions. Like they always say, look inward for the solutions, and the SADC heads of state will also be discussing issues around how best do we solve our problem, how best do we innovate and move forward, but looking inward for these solutions.
Yebo Ian, njengokutsho kwakho sikhangela njalo injongo ye-SADC. Injongo ye-SADC ukuthi thina sibe ngabantu njengamazwe ase-Afrika kumbe kulomkhono we-Southern Africa sibe yithi esenelisayo Ian ukuthi sizilungiselele ubunzima esihlangana labo, ikakhulu nxa kukhangelwa ezenotho kube lokudlelana Ian, kukhangelwa izinto ezifana le SADC Protocol on Free Trade Area okukhangelwa ukuthi kuzaphathisa njani ukuthuthukisa inotho yamazwe akunhlanganiso ye-SADC.
Yes, like we said, that we will be giving you more of these proceedings as we build up towards the 44th Heads of State SADC Summit happening tomorrow in Mount Upton. And today, of course, there was that OMC earlier on. Now there is the SADC Troika that is ready to go on, and our team is on the ground. Let's now cross over to Justin Matlahla, who is on standby. Justin, good afternoon, and it's over to you.
Ian.
Maybe not quite getting the audio, but yes, you can tell that they are ready. The choir behind him singing, and I'm pretty sure it's all about preparations before that Troika begins. And now let's try. From the venue that is set to host the Troika. Pictures are coming live from Mount Upton. Yes, there is Justin Matlahla.
Where events are taking place, particularly right now, preparations for the Troika meeting that includes heads of state from Tanzania, from Zambia, from Angola, of course, as they discuss issues to do with peace, security and defense on the SADC regional bloc. Of course, we are also seeing the arrival of several heads of state who are coming in for the summit starting yesterday. As we speak, we talk of the arrival of Angola Angola's president and outgoing SADC chairperson, that's President Joao Lourenço, who is now in the country. Of course, is accompanied by the First Lady of Angola. He was received at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport by Minister of Women Affairs, Community, Small and Medium Enterprises, that's Senator Monica Muchangwa. We have also seen the arrival of the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's Dr. Felix Tshisekedi, who has touched down as well at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport ahead of the Troika Summit and of course tomorrow's Heads of State Summit. The president was received by the Minister of Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Honorable Barbara Zwodzi. Lesotho's Prime Minister, Mr. Sam Matekane, has also paid a courtesy call on President Emmerson Mnangagwa as he is already now in the country ahead of the summit. And when he held that meeting, it was a closed-door meeting, but issues that arose from the meeting include issues of cooperation in areas of agriculture, renewable energy and that trade between themselves is strengthened. That is before they look beyond the continent. Now, we also saw yesterday the arrival of Dr. Nangolo Mbumba of Namibia, who also this afternoon had a meeting with President Emmerson Mnangagwa at State House. And after his meeting, he indicated that they spoke in terms of the historic relationship between the two countries. We know that relations between Zimbabwe and Zambia, and perhaps most of her neighbors, also date back to the days before Zimbabwe attained independence, and relations have continued to be strengthened even post-independence in Zimbabwe. He also spoke of the assistance that Namibia rather got from Zimbabwe in terms of in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. President Mumba said as Namibia they look forward to President Mnangagwa's dynamic leadership as he assumes the SADC chairmanship. Now we also know that Malawi's President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera is already in the country ahead of the 44th SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, and President Chakwera, together with President Emmerson Mnangagwa, held bilateral talks this afternoon at State House. And of course, they've talked about what Malawi expects as Zimbabwe takes. President Chakwera indicated the need for the region to rally behind President Emmerson Mnangagwa in fostering a regional integration agenda that should become a reality, and has also put emphasis on the need for Africa to first work on promoting intra-Africa trade. So you find that most of these issues will be deliberated here at the new parliament building as SADC heads of state and government converge for the 44th SADC summit. And of course, they'll also be looking at issues to do with troubled spots across the continent, that is in the Cabo Delgado, where the SAMIM, that's the SADC force in Mozambique, has been deployed as of July, ending its mission there after having consolidated peace in the Cabo Delgado region. And of course, issues to do with peacekeeping missions in the Kingdom of Lesotho, as well as in the troubled parts of the Democratic on peace, security and defense, met to map a way forward in terms of what issues pertaining to security and defense and peace should be discussed when the Troika meets this afternoon. So we are seeing the arrival of heads of state who are coming in for the Troika. In particular, I witnessed the arrival of the former president of Tanzania, that's Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, who is here as one of the elders, forming also the Elders Council of the African Union, and also is here today as part of the SADC body to also give ideas, to give guidance in terms of how the region can tackle issues that affect its peace and stability. So we also saw the president of Tanzania, the current president, that's Dr. Suding. She will be taking over the chairmanship of the Troika from Zambia. heads of state and government. By the way, the organ, the Troika, is a very, very useful organ that has been institutionalized to ensure that leaders are guided on how to address issues of peace and security, how to address issues that threaten the stability of the region. So the Troika meets now and again. The last session, the 26th meeting of the Troika, was held in July this year in Zambia, discussed that in terms of the political side of the existence of member states in the bloc, those issues are addressed. But we know that the bloc, the regional bloc, also looks at issues of economic integration, economic development, which is perhaps why this year the 7th Industrialization Week was also held, to ensure that the industrialization roadmap, that there is cohesion in terms of the socio-economic issues that affect the region, in terms of the political issues that affect the region. You look at issues to do also with innovation, the adoption of industrialization, modernization. When President Emerson Mnangagwa yesterday addressed the 7 of capacitation, in terms of also the need to look inward and adopt strategies that work for the region, also leveraging on the competitiveness of the different economies of the SADC member states. He spoke of the resources that the region is endowed with. You look at Zimbabwe, you look at South Africa, you look at Lesotho, you look at Namibia, you look at mineral and oil deposits that are in member states. And President Emerson Mnangagwa made reference to the mantra that he has coined and that continues to guide his developmental trajectory of Nyika inovakwa nevenevayo ilizwe lakiwa ngabanikazi balo. And he has said it is imperative for the resources, its human capital, and make sure that it is developed. And earlier as well, President Mnangagwa spoke of the need for a comprehensive skills audit that will be conducted in Zimbabwe, for example, to ensure that the skills of Zimbabweans are aligned and harnessed to promote development. There are several issues that the president referred to. He also indicated that Zimbabwe has been at the forefront of embracing the introduction of innovation hubs, University of Technology. There are hubs that have been created that have given students opportunities and the space to experiment, to make sure that they dream, according to the president's words, to dream and continue to dream even when they make errors. But the president is assured that out of those dreams, innovations are coming out. We have seen innovations in terms of production of protective equipment that in the SADC region, to allow their youth, the young generation, to dream, to allow the young generation to experiment, to explore new ways of taking and leapfrogging the regional economic bloc, so to speak, in terms of economic development. And these are deliberate efforts that governments within the SADC regional bloc must make. Made presentations yesterday at the public lecture at the University of Zimbabwe, pointed to the need for an inclusive approach that embraces young men, young women, people living with disabilities, even those in rural or remote areas, to make sure that they are also part of the developmental trajectory of the regional bloc. And these are some of the lessons that President Emerson Mnangagwa perhaps hopes to share with his peers during this 44th summit of SADC heads of state and government. We have actually heard from the which he says has been tried and tested, and they've also adopted the program back in Madagascar, because the concept bears fruit. The concept has tangible results. We have witnessed that here in Zimbabwe, where farmers across the board, particularly in remote areas, those who do not have the mechanization required to manage big pieces of land, but they've been able to manage the small farms that they have, the subsistence land past the El Nino induced drought through the internal means that the Second Republic has propagated. there's quite a number of lessons to learn. The issues of looking inwards in terms of using our own resources, in terms of using our own human capital. So you also notice that as President Emmerson Mnangagwa takes over the chairmanship of the SADC regional bloc, the leaders within the region have quite a lot to learn. Even this issue of industrialization beneficiated the industrialization roadmap. It was introduced by Zimbabwe at the 14th SADC summit, not necessarily the 14th, that was in 2014 in Victoria Falls by President when it chaired the SADC summit then. And the thrust to industrialize, to modernize, has been at the forefront of Zimbabwe culture. There's been a push to export processed products, to export processed materials in terms of our mining minerals and so forth. This is what leaders believe will take the SADC region forward. This is what the region believes will take it forward in terms of leapfrogging other economies, embracing technology, embracing innovation. We have issues to do with artificial intelligence that are also part of the discourse that leaders are actually discussing as we look forward to the agenda. So the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's Dr. Felix Tshisekedi, has entered this place. He's here as part of the leaders who will be discussing issues that make the agenda of the SADC Troika. As we said, an important body of the SADC body that looks at issues that affect the stability, the peace of the region, issues to do with politics, whether there are areas that need the intervention of the region, areas that also need the guidance of the region in terms of political developments, in terms of uprisings and so forth. So by the leaders that convene every year in August. And as we speak from in the morning today, the committee of the organ on peace, security and defense has been deliberating issues, has been talking about issues that need the attention of the leaders of this summit. So this is why you see presidents like Dr. Tshisekedi who are here. As I said earlier, Dr. Jakaya Kikwete of Tanzania is also here, and we are expecting the arrival of the current president of Tanzania. We're also expecting the chairperson, outgoing chairperson on. It's a big day for the region, a big day as the region maps a way forward in terms of where they must go. So President Suluhu is already here. She's leading Tanzania, and she's also part of the leaders who will be deliberating, remembering that she's Tanzania's first female president, taking over the presidency in 2021. And Tanzania is the third largest country in the world with a total land area of more than 800,000 square kilometers. The population of Tanzania stands at 65.5 million people. On the south, the official language in Tanzania is Kiswahili. Of course, universally spoken in Tanzania. It's quite a big language, spreading into other countries outside of Tanzania, Uganda. Of course, you also know Kenya. There's some Swahili that is spoken. Even down south to other parts of Zambia, Kiswahili is quite popular there. And of course, English is also an official, giving you updates of what is taking place in the background. That's Situngi's harmony singers providing entertainment with their melodies as we're expecting the arrival of other heads of state and government here at the new Parliament building in Mount Hampden. We just want to talk briefly about Namibia. Of course, Namibia, which has been part of the process of developing a SADC trade regime. And when we before we talk about Namibia, the issue of a SADC trade regime has also been topical in the past years, as it has emerged that the SADC regional bloc indeed needs to have a single voice. It needs to have an commerce, trade with the African region and trade beyond Africa, in terms of empowering SADC economies to be able to make decisions, to be able to produce goods that can find a market within the region and outside. We'll be continuing with our updates. Stay tuned. So as we said earlier, we were expecting the arrival of the current chairperson. He's here, who is current and outgoing chair of the new parliament building. He will be a part of deliberations of the Troika, but then he will also be handing over the chairmanship of the SADC regional bloc to President Emerson Mnangagwa tomorrow. So he joins other leaders who are already here in the new parliament building to commence proceedings of the Troika as an important body that is tasked with ensuring that there is peace on the SADC in the SADC region. So going back to what we need to know about Namibia, a very good friend of Zimbabwe. Namibia became the 10th member of us initiated or established as a conference that brought together 9 founding members. So Namibia was part of that group of the founding members that it joined following its independence in March 1990, and the SADC then transformed into the Southern. It was Namibia that was chairing the SADC summit in 1992, and that treaty that transformed the SADC, the conference, into a community was it took place in Namibia, as Namibia hosted the summit in 1992. Parliament building, we are seeing the arrival of heads of state and government who are coming for the Troika summit, and some of course have already arrived for the 44th SADC summit of heads of
Excellencies, distinguished
Thank
delegates.
you so much, Justin Matlatla, for giving us that update in terms of what is happening at Mount Upton, or is set, as you can see from those pictures coming to you live from Mount Upton, that we are all ready for the SADC Troika. As we get, we also witness some leaders arriving for that one, and the crowd, the delegates being entertained by the Gitungi's harmony singers as they have been singing. And I've seen some delegates from various countries also dancing to the beautiful music that is being done by the harmony singers.
Vambe vanhu vokuchitungwiza vamutondeja kuti vezi totambula zwanana mushango yezimbabwe tilinga kwafeno kuti ku Mount Hamden kwafeno upizwa unshaji kumulingirwa kuti kunonjina SADC Troika paichata unshangano nasi kuseni kwabatiwa umwe unshangano Ian ubelebereka.
Yeah, now we have to go back again at Mount Upton. The Troika is beginning, and let's get back to Mount Upton and follow proceedings coming to you live right here on ZBC TV. These are the scenes coming to you live from Mount Upton. Like I said, usually this is the venue of the Senate session that we normally have coming to you live on our current affairs programming. But now it is hosting the SADC Troika, as we're anticipating it to start any minute from now. And you can see those delegates are now seated, getting ready for the arrival of a few more delegates. Then, of course, this will start. And now we have also witnessed members of the media and all getting ready as the nation builds up towards the 44th Heads of State SADC Summit happening tomorrow in Mount Upton, where His Excellency will be taking over a chairmanship. And talk of today, we have seen the Ministerial Committee of the organ having its meeting earlier on, and we covered the official opening of that and issues around unity of purpose, issues around shaping around the SADC region, so that we go on the similar development trajectory have been discussed, and of course they will be amplified in this troika that will now take place in Mount Upton.
Yes, Ian, so ulebereka kuko kuti nasi kuseni kwatiwa nshangano yoyo wabelinga akale uluwe komiti ya makulukota anobona nokutabirijwa kwedunu atalinga kuti nshangano yoyo wabetungamirwa n'abantu banoshanganisa untungamire galutundula mese awe SADC bano ba ibo ba Elias Mahosi banjina mu nshangano mwempera anabamlambo haimbe belebereka tilinga kuti chibwe chinangwa che SADC ndicho kubona kuti kwabano lunyalalo mudunu ye mu makushango mu gubungano lye SADC Ian.
And yes, these are some of the issues that of course will be discussed, and the people have been wondering what exactly are some of the key points. The 44th Head of State SADC Summit will talk about mainly a policy direction where the countries will be going towards the same direction. Of course, issues around national security, like he said, natural disasters. We understand that currently the region is hit by the El Nino-induced droughts, which have been described by specialists that it is coming through as a result of the climate change, and the region must be able to respond in a strategic ways that will ensure that we don't die of hunger, neither does Zambia do or any other country. We all need to be food secure. And His Excellency, when he spoke about some of the methods, and did explain that Zimbabwe has adopted Fumbudza into Asa, a program which has been adopted in other countries as well as a sustainable measure to see us getting more of our food security. And I think about how the region can move forward, especially on the issue of young people's role in industrializing the region, in connecting the region. Electricity has also been a conversation that took place yesterday at the public lecture, where the various vice chancellors from different universities in SADC region explained that we need to have more power. If you have good power, development can happen easily. Industrialization can be done, and power should be generated right here in SADC, where we've got a lot of the sunshine, and we need to transform that into electricity.
Ian sukulebera kono sota ntunga mmiri weshango banagalabelebeleka kuti nyika ino bakwane bene bayo zulebera hakali kuti SADC iyo mashango ayama mugubana le SADC alikuwa ebe iwo anotungamira bulongo abunobuza ibudiliro tilinga hakali zunanga kuyijana munyajo zubufumi mashango ayama mu SADC anotubula akale kubaibo anosugwaga anotubula kuti ebe iwo anozubanja tilinga hakali nyajo zo lunyalalo Tinkoti ishango Zimbabwe nebo inoso tumila masoja ayo kumashango ananga DRC munyaji nobuza lunyalalo abantu batikana munyaji no chokuta nokubuza lunyalalo tilinga kabiri munyaji okubakwa kozubako zunji zokwa duzutiwe tulinga kale kubakwa kozupolo ma railway lines mu dunu anobatanisa mashango ose mu SADC mu region yedu yen.
Yes, of course, these are some of the conversations that will be taking place today and tomorrow, where the heads of state who are coming. We've been arriving, as we have been giving you live coverage from the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, as the heads of state have been arriving. They are all coming through for these discussions, a policy direction in SADC region. How do we get to have our region industrialized, innovation being the center of the conversations, and also ensuring that no one dies of hunger, security comes through, and all these heads of state are now coming through to map a strategy, and of course to really have collaborations happening. Like we said that earlier on, there was also the the market in Mozambique doing the same to Namibia, and from one country to another. How can these countries really work together and create a robust business network? Because there's been conversations around selling to Europe, selling to other countries, importing from China, importing from other continents. But yes, we do also have products being designed and created right here in our region. And the idea is to promote Zimbabwe buying from South Africa, Namibia buying from Madagascar, and this is what can see the region grow and become a better bloc altogether.
Tilinga unshangano wegole yelino Ian we SADC wamakome mana ukumulinga inyaya jokubuza ibudiliro ya ma industry zonwaizo zono bancha mashango aimo mo SADC tilinga kale Mswati 28 womweje wapinda yoyo ishango Zimbabwe lima zuno zunanga ishuga zuno zwakadaro kongo nanchwa mishingo yabo zuno zungabuza ibudiliro tilinga akale kuti batungamiri baswika ien abantu baibo baswika banova untukambire wokushango le Lesotho baswika ba Samuel Tsokwane baswika banongolo mbumba boku Namibia bakaswika jiro nasi untukambire we Eswatini baswika she Mswati baswika kale tilingano untukambire we shango le DRC baswika kale tilingano shango le DRC ishango linazubia zunji tilinga zunochiwa zunji zokolana ne shango Zimbabwe zunji zunotiwa kale Israel Public Lecture University of Zimbabwe ebelebika zunji zonko zutiwe na mashango yaya kubuza ibudiliro nokunancha mishingo yose yatino bata yen.
That is exactly what has been happening, and as we have also seen those heads of state coming through by His Excellency the President of Malawi, Dr. Chakwera, talk of Namibian President Dr. Mbumba was also part of that delegation that went through to pay a courtesy call on His Excellency, as conversations were around supporting his leadership, ensuring that integration becomes reality, industrialization becomes the dream that is slowly being transformed for the regional bloc to get to that. Excellency saying that Zimbabwe is also open for business. When it comes to other companies that would love to invest in Zimbabwe from the SADC region are welcome to the country, and you know that Zimbabwe is on a quest to become an upper middle income society. Vision 2030, as it is popularly known, this is a mantra that is meant to transform the lives of the ordinary people, and so that we get to be on a more developed nation. And we've seen the region becomes a better economic bloc when countries are supporting each other. And you mentioned also unity among Africans, and we've seen sport within also regional blocs can become a key unifying element that we see Zimbabwe supporting Botswana, we see Namibia supporting Botswana. We have seen comments coming through from all over Africa supporting our brother from Botswana who raised the African flag higher, and the conversation is around now we need to translate that to more and more that is being done. And like we always say, that we always continue to give you more. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us right here on ZBC Current Affairs as we continue to give you more of the live proceedings happening from the airport, where the heads of state are arriving for the 44th Heads of SADC Summit happening tomorrow at Mount Upton Parliament. We are also on standby to cross over shortly to the new Parliament building in Mount Upton for the SADC Troika Summit, and all is set. We're just waiting for a few more delegates to arrive, then we do have that. But when we were trying to find out more about how much people do they know about the SADC Summit, one of our own presenters, Ketli Gwindi, had a walk through the streets finding out what do exactly people know about SADC, and let's get to see what he found out.
Hello viewers, and welcome to it. Yes, it's a bright and shiny day coming to you from Harare, Zimbabwe, where we are seeing the preparedness, readiness, as well as excitement around the SADC Summit that is going to be happening right here in our capital. Yes. Yes, we are of course going to be questioning and just doing and conducting a mini street quiz that obviously speaks volumes to the history, the knowledge, as well as preparedness of the people themselves around the Southern African Development Community Summit that is taking place, where we're also going to see the chairmanship being instated on our President, His Excellency, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa. Now come with me on this journey. My name is Kurtley Gwindi, and let's walk together to find out what the streets of Harare are thinking at this moment. I'm joined by Mitch, who is speaking all things to do with SADC. Mitch, how are you feeling?
Great, fantastic. Thanks.
Absolutely, and perhaps break it down for us. The acronym SADC, what does it stand for?
Isn't it Southern African Development Community?
SADC stands for Southern African Development Committee.
SADC stands for Southern African Development Committee.
SADC stands for the Southern African Development Committee.
SADC stands for Southern African Development Committee.
SADC stands for Southern African Development Community.
Southern African Development Community.
Southern Africa Development Community.
SADC stands for the Southern African Development Community. An organization that was started to ensure that there is cooperation amongst Southern African countries.
Please tell us where the headquarters for SADC are.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they're in Gaborone in Botswana.
The SADC headquarters at the moment are in South Africa.
I think Ethiopia.
I think they're in Gaborone, Botswana.
I think South Africa.
The headquarters are in Botswana.
If you can name for us 3 founding fathers within the SADC.
Seretse Khama, R.G. Mugabe, Julius Nyerere.
The SADC founding fathers, I think there was Samora Machel, there was Robert Mugabe, and there was also, I think, Nyerere could have been also part and parcel of that cooperation, I think.
I think I know one. That's Seretse Khama in Botswana.
Hopefully I'll just name one, Samora Machel.
Bande. Samora Machel. That's what I know.
Founding fathers. First one is Dr. Magufuli. President Robert Mugabe and Seretse Khama.
In 30 seconds, I'm going to give you the chance to be able to share with us countries that are within the SADC region, as many as you can. Let's go.
Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Cameroon.
So in SADC we have Zimbabwe, obviously. We have South Africa. We have Lesotho. We have Swaziland.
Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Malawi.
Obviously, start with Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Mozambique, South Africa, Namibia. I don't know if Namibia is in. Yeah, Tanzania. Yeah, to mention a few, only to mention a few. Yeah.
There's Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Malawi, and Mozambique.
Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ethiopia, DRC, Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania, Egypt.
Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, Kenya, Comoros. That's what I know.
South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, Angola, DRC. Angola, I've said. Malawi, a bit further north. Not Tanzania. Tanzania included.
South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Tanzania, Namibia, Zambia, Lesotho, Swaziland, Mauritius, Madagascar. I think that's about it that I know.
Perhaps share with us who the incoming chair, who's going to be instated this August here in Harare, Zimbabwe, who that chairperson is.
His Excellency E.D. Mnangagwa.
Isn't it Mnangagwa?
I'm not really sure.
It's His Excellent Dr. Idi Mnangagwa.
The incoming chair is His Excellency President Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa.
Some random questions there from Aketli Gwinde as he was moving around the streets of Harare to understand if people really get to understand what SADC is all about, countries that are in the SADC region, just testing some knowledge. Just some interesting answers we've been seeing there and from people who have been giving us those responses. But of course, yes, these were some of the interviews, the interventions, as well as short clips as we prepare for the 44th head of SADC happening in Mount Upton tomorrow. That is actually in Mashonaland West Province, the worst province for the SADC summit. And of course, we are just awaiting shortly. We'll be crossing over to Mount Upton for the SADC Troika that will be happening, and where all leaders are on standby. Everyone is ready for the discussions, which of course is the last precursor meeting before the summit that is happening tomorrow, where His Excellency will be taking over chairmanship. We are going to take another short break. When we come back, of course, we'll be having more of these live proceedings, be it at the airport, arrivals, or at the new Parliament building in Mount Upton for the meetings. Don't go anywhere.
Before the coming in of the Second Republic, Zimbabwe was experiencing serious environmental challenges, which include water, land and air pollution, littering, mushrooming of illegal waste dumps, siltation of rivers and dams, illegal mining, veld fires, deforestation, climate change, poaching and biodiversity loss. As a signatory of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of 1971, the country has obligations to ensure that wetlands are sustainably managed so that their regenerative capacities are not impaired, and they continue to provide essential ecosystem services. The country's cities have become the biggest polluters, poisoning rivers, dams, and underground water with germ-laden sewage.
A significant amount of sewage is flowing into the environment. We've got a BNR, biological nutrient removal plant, which is working, and we want to convey the sewer to this place so that we'll be able to treat it and discharge it as a standard effluent according to EMA standards.
Most of this waste is coming from the industries. It's actually being discharged into these canals through illegal sewer discharges. There are a lot of sewer beds which are occurring around the city, which are discharging waste into the canal, and eventually it finds itself into Umguza River.
Upon realizing the challenges that the environment was facing, the Second Republic introduced a cocktail of measures to sustainably manage the environment for the benefit of both present and future generations. This also assisted towards reducing pollution of rivers with mercury and other heavy metals. Apart from the alluvial mining ban, the government of Zimbabwe banned mining in protected areas like national parks. The continued observance of environmental days such as tree planting also assisted towards environmental rehabilitation. Another milestone achievement on environmental protection by the Second Republic included the introduction of the National Wetlands Master Plan and National Wetlands Policy. These tools were meant to reduce the abuse of wetlands and other sensitive ecosystems, as well as increase the area of wetlands sustainably managed. Through the Environmental Management Agency, the government started mapping, gazetting, adopting and protecting these sensitive ecosystems.
The Environmental Management Authority, EMA, should identify and designate all wetlands around the country as unsuitable spaces for human settlements. Local authorities must also desist from issuing building permits on wetlands, because many local authorities are abusing or are allowing the abuse of wetlands. That should stop. I encourage you to work closely with the Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism and the hospitality industry to educate the citizenry about the adverse effects of climate change.
The involvement of communities on sustainable management of wetlands also assisted to preserve them.
The interventions of wetland reclamation have come in after the realizations that wetlands are drying up due to cultivation and also tramping by animals. So what we do is engage the communities and agree on the mechanisms or the measures to be taken to protect that environment. So what we have realized is we have seen wetlands rejuvenating, wetlands that are dry, getting water back, and even the areas that are now covered by water have increased in hectarage. What we have also realized is even the fauna and flora is also increased, that is the biodiversity. We have also realized that with the protection of wetlands, water supply for livestock and different uses is also improved. So these are the major improvements that we have also seen, and we have also recorded some positive impacts where communities are now getting supply of water to cultivate their crops throughout the year. We are helping bring a harmony in communities. We are also removing pressure from the exploitation of some natural resources. We are continuing to improve the status of the environment.
So zimutondezera kuti ruzivo ndialeva vasabu vakashinga nokuti vanhu manje vakubona kuti tofana kunozodzesa milawo inovaka ishango inoti environment.
Mvura yakubatika so totsununganya kune zvipfuwo zvedu zvakona kurarama kwakanaka nokuti mvura yakubatika nakurima chirimo tichakwanisa kurima nokuti mvura yakubatika. Taifamba 6 kilometers chinda kumvura nezvimugomo kana kuita mufuku. Zvino mufuku wanga kutikweshera nokuti mune muchifamba mukazi matongi chinyi, saka mvura yacho munongozomawo zvongoti hamuna zvamuchaita. Asi iko zvino zvoti nyangwe zvitubu zvatisimukiri.
Tiri kuona kuti taakuwana mvura zvokutoti kana zvikaramba zvinda mberi tiri vapenyu tikavakirwa sokuita kwavakataura kuti tichadai kana zvikabuda zvose izvozvo ndofunga tikaita muupenyu unyowani kudarika zvitachita because tachitambura mvura.
Takatanga kufenza ma-wetlands kune kunonzi kuchamhlawo 3.4 hectares takaifenza iyoyo so that panonaya mvura haizi mombe hadzitsikitsiki area iyoyo, saka mvura inoramba yakabatwa, then it means stream yedu haiomi, inoramba ichiita se inoramba ichidzika. Then kuzasi tine nhingiti tiri kuhavesta mvura kune kunoda kusowa dam inobata mvura iyo so that stream yedu kubva kuzasi kusvika kumusoro inenge ine mvura. Saka ikoko kwacho tine zvatinozoitawo kuti dam redu rive useful, tichaisa futi fish imomo so that vanoda kuraura vachiraura imomo. This nhingiti neniyo project iyi zviri kutibatsira nokuti tikatasa even vechidiki chaivo taakuti tiri create employment, anoswera the whole day ari kugarden achiita zvinhu zvinoita. Tine issue yehuchi hove chichi, saka instead yekuti vaswere vachitsvaga zvinodhaka zvizvo vanoswera vari busy kumaprojects vowanawo something chinovabatsira.
The government is also working towards a reduction of damages caused by the veld fires, and this was achieved through various campaigns and rigorous policing, like the strengthening of local veld fire management committees and environmental information management systems. In an effort to reduce damage on the mined areas, the Second Republic increased targets of mined areas rehabilitation, strengthened monitoring and environmental assets, as well as capacitating local authorities to manage the environment. Like other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, Zimbabwe is not spared from the vagaries of nature, like climate change, coupled with high temperatures, dry spells, droughts, and heat waves, and floods like the 2013 to 2024 Tugwi Mukosi floods, and cyclones, the tropical cyclone Idai, that left a trail of destruction in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Malawi in 2019.
Amazambane, indumba, itswetha, ungahamba khona uzathola kuchile mntana kuye kulele phansi. Mina empilweni yami noma ngathi yethu, mina nti sengugile. Anzange ndibone ilanga lichisa ngale ndlela. Uthi mawuthela amanzi lapha esilimo, kuvuka intuthu echisayo.
Nzara ichatisiya tisisina kana mbudzi kana huku. Nokuti tichitarisira kuti zvatee takatarisira mumunda andizvo zvatinowana.
Since ngisengumntwana ndikumama lo baba ngize ngaenda I'm got 72 years qala ukubona lo nyaka yayikhona indlela but not le.
We've been talking to the people around. They were saying they have never experienced such a drought. So this one, even myself, it's my first time to witness this disaster that we are faced with.
When it comes to temperature records, this year most of the records are being broken, when it comes to surface temperatures. Actually, the latest reports from the World Met Organization indicate that February was the warmest on record. And I think this is really in line with the global warming trends.
All the droughts that we went through in 2082, 92, and so forth, this one was the worst in 40.
And observing the intensity of these challenges on humanity. Livestock, crops and biodiversity. The Second Republic, under the steward leadership of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, introduced a cocktail of measures, and these include massive construction of dams across the country, introduction of Pfumbudza Intwasa conservation farming, revitalization of old, dilapidated and existing irrigation schemes, among others.
Mvura yekutobva inakunaya zvakasimba kuti ndaganachera makomba nakati okungomaka muna Agasti sokudzidziswa kwatakaita isu. Saka ana kudzika budzikiro kwandaida ndobva ndamirira mvura ya December chizona musi wa 9 December. Ndobva ndakatanga kufamba namakomba angu. Ndobva takatanga kufidha. Ndichizodzvara musi wa 12 December. Ndiro riri ramunobona bvunde iri.
Ndiri murimi akatanga kuita zvekurima nemakomba 2016-2017 season. Handina kuzviregera kusvika nhasi patiri pano nenyaya yekuti goho rangu rinoramba richikura. Handichadzoki mumashure. Ndiri kuramba nichiwana goho rangu rakanaka. Goho rangu inini regore rakapera kuine mvura ranga rakaita sezvachakaita chibagezvi. Gore rino kusina mvura ringori sezvariri zvichireva kuti inini muupenyu hwangu pfumvudza yamuropa rangu.
When a farmer understands the fact that they must climate proof at household level, these are the results. So whether it rains or it doesn't rain, the farmer will always have enough food on account of them climate proofing. Here they've done all the tenets, including listening to the planning advice. When a drought is predicted, the farmers must listen to what the experts say about the season and also listen to what strategies they must employ as the season approaches, and then go on to implement the correct tenets of climate proofing.
Look at the way the government has started the construction of dams throughout the country. Government had chipped in rehabilitating irrigation schemes. Government has rehabilitated the Biri extension irrigation scheme. We have Chamakudo irrigation scheme. A brand new irrigation scheme built by the Second Republic. It has got 209 hectares. And this scheme is going to be the largest irrigation scheme in the Midlands province. Chaora, under construction, a new Nyala irrigation scheme. We also have Mchembere irrigation scheme. In addition to other 9 irrigation schemes which are already in existence.
But then in terms of long term, I think we need to invest in resilience building measures. There's quite a number of options that are being tried. Some that are based on ecosystem kind of interventions where we're saying maybe nature can also help us to adapt to climate change. So we're looking at situations whereby in some cases where there's wetlands, we're working with communities to restore and manage wetlands. But we're also looking at other various aspects of natural resources management, because in some cases there's quite a lot of soil degradation, so we're looking at soil fertility management. But we're also looking at crop diversification as an intervention. But we're also promoting irrigation in a big way, particularly the efficient type of water efficient type of irrigation. So we're looking at sprinkler irrigation like what we have tried in Buhera and Gutu. But we're also piloting drip irrigation in a couple of other interventions, because we're saying water is going to be very critical to be used in a more efficient way.
We are the most dammed country in Southern Africa, and we also are fortunate in that we continue to build dams. The fortunate thing is also that those water bodies have a capacity to irrigate over 2 million hectares if we could use that water. The unfortunate bit is that out of the 2 million potential hectares for irrigation, we are currently just irrigating 217,000 hectares. Of the 217,000, the bulk of that is certainly under the plantation crops. You have your sugarcane, tea, and so forth. They take up the bulk of that 217,000 hectares. We are left then with just over 100,000, which can be put under cereals. In this summer season that was affected by drought, 57, just under 57,000 was put under maize. And we have, we went up to about 70,000, which was put also under other crops, traditional grains, and so forth, to provide for our food. So that is the crop, the 70,000, which was under irrigation. That is the crop that gave us a yield that is substantial. The ideal situation, which is what we are planning and what we are working on, is for us to have at least 350,000 hectares to be utilized for cereal production. So the 350,000 would exclude anything that is not cereal. If we can put 350,000 hectares under maize, we would be assured.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And now let's cross over, like we promised you, that we'll be giving you the SADC Troika Summit that is happening in Mount Upton. Let's get to follow proceedings live in Mount Upton.
Troika members, thank them for their support, the heads of state, the ministers, the technical teams, and we've had quite a busy year under this organ Troika. Is that yesterday, if I may say, the organ Troika has been very busy, as the Executive Secretary has indicated. Several elections took place in our term, so on time, and I want to express the gratitude, appreciation to all of us for the excellent work that we've done. That has been done, as I said, the Secretary has been doing a very good job. And I also want to appreciate the cooperation of our cooperative partners, and of whom have been doing work behind the scenes with us to make our organ Troika succeed, is because we have received support from our members, cooperative partner members. If I may proceed by indicating that there is a lot of work to be done in the difficult areas within our member states. The Executive Secretary has covered these already, and want to encourage all of us to continue doing the good work that is necessary to keep peace, security, and stability in our countries, in our region, on our continent, and to contribute to global peace, security, and stability that moment. And I must also indicate that it is important that we continue deepening our democracies in our countries. As the Executive Secretary said, elections are almost, if you like, the outlet in our democratic dispensations. And elections can be difficult, elections can be emotional, but we're very pleased that the elections that happened during our time, or the year that has passed, where reasonably peaceful and deliberate leaderships that SADC now can be proud as a bloc that will maintain or manage to peaceful transition of leaderships from one team to another during the last year. I must say that this is work in progress and look forward to the elections that are coming, the latter part of this year, calendar year, and we want to encourage our member states, our citizens in our individual countries to support electoral processes, to campaign, to conduct elections, as I said, so pre-election, during election, and post-election, in a peaceful and tolerant manner, because that's what will keep our region safe, and allow space for economic and social development to play its critical part, which is the area that really we get elected in office to deliver, because that's what will improve the living standards in our individual countries, member states, and also as a bloc and as a country. I do believe that as we in Zambia continue to serve on this border Troika, we will do our best to support this agenda of maintaining peace, security, and stability. I would like to thank the Executive Secretary. I will say a lot more, a bit more, when the leader has excused themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President President of the Republic of Zambia and Chairperson of the SADC Organ Troika Summit for those opening remarks. We now come to the end of the official opening session, and at this point we're going to request the media to be excused so that the meeting can proceed in closed session. We will invite you, dear colleagues, during the closing ceremony, where we're going to again listen to the closing remarks.
Stand by, stand by.
The meeting is on the 1+6 formation. Distinguished member states, let's observe that formation.
President Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia as chairperson of the Southern Organ Troika, giving his opening remarks virtually as he also joins other heads of state and government here at the new parliament building for the 44th SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. But as we speak, the media has been requested to be excused so that deliberations can proceed, and perhaps we will be back for the closing ceremony. Will also be given the opportunity to find out what would have transpired, as well as the resolutions that would have been passed in this Troika summit. So we'll give you updates later on. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Justin, for that update. As we have witnessed President Hichilema giving his opening remarks, so the summit, the Troika is now up and running, as like Justin rightfully said, that these we have now become used to it. Closed door sessions where members of the media are requested to leave and will come back to hear more in terms of the deliberations that had actually taken place, the points that have been talked about. Vengane, we have seen His Excellency President Hichilema delivering the opening remarks, and now it's all about the closed door sessions, deliberations, as you move closer and closer to the 44th SADC Summit tomorrow.
Yes, kuko Ian tabona mtungamiri w'eshango ye Zambia unabongala chibula we Troika betula mahwi abo okuvula umongameli welizwe le Zambia besethula amazwi akhe okuvula umhlangano obana ngezomvikela kunhlanganiso ye SADC okathesi sebengene emhlanganeni wabo abongena bebodwa njalo lezi zindaba azivunyelwa ukuthi zingene phakathi kodwa sizaphenduka njalo sizolitshela lokho okuyabe ukuvele kulo mhlangano yena.
Yes, we'll also make sure that we'll continue giving you live updates in as far as the SADC summit is concerned, and we have also witnessed arrival of various heads of state. Just to give you a recap of those that have actually arrived in Zimbabwe, His Excellency Dr. Samia Hassan, the President of Tanzania, His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, the President of Namibia, and we've also seen Dr. Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi arriving, and we've also seen Dr. Felix Tshisekedi of DRC, as well as His Excellency Dr. João Lourenço arriving. And these are some of the presidents that have arrived as we get closer and closer to the SADC summit happening tomorrow in Mount Upton at the new Parliament building. And these that have actually come through have also paid a courtesy call on His Excellency at the State House just to reassure him of their support and also how the region will move forward. And tomorrow he'll be taking over the chairmanship. But these live proceedings will continue to be covered right here on a ZBC TV. Stay tuned. Don't go and
In 2017, Zimbabwe embarked on a new chapter with the inauguration of the Second Republic under the leadership of President Emmerson Mnangagwa. A key focus of this new era has been human capital development, equipping Zimbabweans with the skills and knowledge to drive the nation's economic and social transformation. The Second Republic has been working round the clock to transform higher education in Zimbabwe to promote the production of qualified specialists and technicians, especially in the natural and applied sciences, engineering and technology, the medical and health sciences, and agriculture, among other critical sectors. The government largely sees tertiary education as a key driver of economic growth and poverty reduction, as it plays a critical role in training a qualified and adaptable labor force, generating new knowledge through basic and applied research, and promoting the use of new and emerging technologies. President Mnangagwa has spearheaded the adoption of the heritage-based Education 5.0 model in the country's institutions of higher learning to help promote research and innovation in the utilization of local resources.
We changed our education from to 5.0. It is because we have now introduced innovation. Our education must have technology and innovation, so that when a student leaves a university, in the past ourselves, when we left universities, we either were going to be a clerk, right, or a teacher. At that time it was important, but it's not important anymore now. For instance, my brother, if I say, become a clonza, no, can you cook? You don't know, and yet you're highly educated. Now, we need the professors who can produce a product, not a thesis on Shakespeare, because no one eats Shakespeare. So our education now is so designed that there is production of good and service to save the community. You look at what people want, so the university products must come and satisfy that need. This is what we've changed.
Education 5.0 is based on teaching, research, community service, innovation and industrialization, and it seeks to promote the nation forward towards an innovation-led and knowledge-driven economy. In 2018, President Mnangagwa spelled out a clear vision for higher and tertiary education, in which he noted that the human capital development sector was key to national development.
We looked at the education design of this country under the instruction of His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, in December 2017. So when His Excellency said, you have an education that produces goods and services, we looked at our education design, and then we knew, of course, that we're doing teaching, research, and community service, which means we're talking about producing workers, people who work, but work where, isn't it? So we then added innovation, industrialization, which is now 5 missions: teaching, research, the community service, innovation, industrialization, 5 missions.
The Education 5.0 learning model has started bearing fruit as most tertiary institutions have begun to articulate President Mnangagwa's call for technological development to drive the country towards Vision 2030 of an empowered upper middle income economy. The President has repeatedly urged higher and tertiary education institutions to play a more significant role in national development and provide the essential knowledge and skills needed for the production of quality goods and services.
We must develop our country with the domestic resources that are available in our country, right? You see, if you want to build a house, in the past you look at a catalog and say, oh, very good door frames from Turkey, very good glass from Japan, very good sofa. All those things, we now must have our universities, have innovation hubs, then to produce those goods locally. If you look at what those products are being produced, the materials are in here. We have them, must produce those things ourselves. For example, just to give you an example. We used to get all our fertilizer, either from Ukraine or from Russia, all our fertilizer. Then when this thing happened between Russia and Ukraine, we could not access that fertilizer. And I said to our people, what makes fertilizer? Anyway, we discovered we have all those things here. By this year now, we are almost there to have enough fertilizer for ourselves, producing it here. But we said, no, let us look for fertilizer elsewhere. We could continue to be importing. But now we realize we can make our own fertilizer. And this applies to many other products in the country. You see? We must produce these things.
Like Marondera University has got a huge agro-innovation industrial park. Yeah. University of Zimbabwe, huge agro-innovation industrial park. We have a Manicaland University where we are developing the same, and MSU with an industrial park where we are producing a lot of food items, textiles and so forth. Use it with new bread, new oil. We are using fine art engineering with a lot of new biodiesel making equipment, as well as other detergents, as well as cooking oil itself. And you go to verify engineering with medical gases, as well as nitrogen, for cooling stuff, as well as nitrogen for putting in gears and so forth and so on.
At the time the Second Republic came to office, we had about 37 to 39% of products on the shelves being produced locally. The balance was imported onto our supermarkets. Go there today. As a result of Jikaino and the self-belief, we are now at 81% domestic products on shelves of our supermarkets, which means import substitution has worked. Right? So we will continue doing that. Yes, there may be areas where we may lag behind, but we are moving on. Because we also are having a serious scientific balance in terms of our universities for science and technology. And our boys, for instance, since the Second Republic, have you ever had a university that went on strike? Why? When you were in school, you were making strikes every weekend. You were making strikes. This has changed now because very few want to go even on holiday. We have put innovation hubs at universities. So boys and girls come together in producing products. Give a list of 1,000 items. What do you want to do? What do you want? How much would you want? What do you want to be assisted? And they're producing products. So no more strikes. Just because we have put a sense of responsibility that they themselves are important. They must build their motherland themselves.
Industrial hubs are key to harness Zimbabwe's human capital for economic growth. These hubs provide infrastructure and support for businesses to manufacture and export goods, creating jobs and boosting the economy.
In line with the mandate of our Ministry of having empowered youth, and also
in line with the Vision 2030, we strongly believe that the best way of empowering youth is to train them for enterprise.
I graduated last year because of the COVID, and I registered a company, agricultural consultation company. I can say just last year, that's where I registered, but I was operating as an unregistered company. So I then registered it last year, the first of the last year. It's called Express Farm Tech. It's an agricultural consultation company. We are operating national